Begin, O darkness! Arise! Arise, riders of Theoden! Spears shall be shaken! Shields shall be splintered! A sword day! A red day! And the sun rises!
How's it going, everybody? Once again, we have survived the apocalypse. Are you playing some tunes?
Yeah, the phone's ringing. Hey, everyone!
All right, yep. So today is Film Talk, episode 3, and got Classic Glues at reviews as my guest. How's it going, man?
Hey! You can just call me Michael.
That's all. I'll call you. I'll just call you Classic.
Classic. There you go. That's good.
It's all good. But yeah, you're my guest.
Been a while.
Oh yeah, how you doing? You surviving the corona?
Yes and no, because I haven't gone anywhere really. But it seems like every day they add another few to the ticker. One day it's like 6 infected. The next day it's 20 infected. Yesterday it was 40 infected. Just keeps going up. Whether these are real numbers, who knows?
Yeah, media does tend to fluctuate some of the numbers, so we'll see. But just keep clean and be ready, everybody, and that's pretty much all we can do. Other than that, pretty much pretending that's all normal. But
forget going out for toilet paper; it's not going to save you. You need soup and antibiotics and coffee and other things. Toilet paper, I don't know. What, does this virus give you the runs?
I guess they just don't want to be caught without something to wipe, I suppose, but whatever. Anyway, we are here to talk about film stuff. Film Talk, episode 3. And Classic Glue, surprisingly, has quite a bit of history with film. So we're going to dive a little bit into some of that, if you don't mind. I'd say just start where you kind of feel like it about
all right. Here. Well, my history, my love of film started when I was a little boy, I guess, and we had Super 8 film cameras. For those of you today's age, you probably won't know what that is, but before video cameras, you could make your own movies in a film camera, and you would take that camera to the local drugstore to be processed, and then you bring it home, put it on a projector, and you would watch it like any other film. And when we got our very first Super 8, which is like, I guess the standard film camera that most people had was 16 for professionals, and like on the school level, and then 8mm, and then the very small consumer model would have been Super 8, where the film stock is maybe 3/4 of an inch, 2/4 of an inch, maybe wide. So you had a very small image, and it projected a nice film. And so I would make small animated stop motion films with my brother. The kind where you shoot each other with guns, and then later on pretend they were laser guns and disappear, or where you shoot the scene, you go freeze, and then he moves out, and then you start again. And it looks
like a jump cut, yeah.
Yeah, especially with the fence. And in our backyard, we had really high chain link fences, so it was easy enough to have fights and then throw each other into the chain link fence, only to disappear because it was maybe an electrified fence or a laser fence.
Yeah,
something from sci-fi.
Vaporize, hell yeah.
Yeah, and I'm originally from the East Coast, even though now I live in California, and we had snow and all kinds of weather, so I would also film Empire Strikes Back little animated movies after And then I saw the first Star Wars. Of course, we were all infatuated for years. And then Empire Strikes Back came out, and it was in the snow. And Kenner came out with his little micro collection. There was these little metal, like die-cast figures. They were pewter. They were maybe an inch tall. And they had the stormtroopers. And I remember having the Hoth set and just using those to make my own Empire Strikes Back scenes. Because this film was so small, it was really hard to do anything with it effects-wise, other than put it in an editor, blow up the frame just so you could see, and kind of like how they make coins. They draw on a really big mock-up of the coin, and then a mechanical arm would transcribe it into the die. So I have a little etching tool, and I would just scratch the film grain to add practical laser effects or
Internet. I just bought it.
my phone. I'm going to turn that off. Also, to add coloration, any marker will do. And you can make fences yellow or pink or blue or whatever color. So markers came in very handy. But again, it's a very small piece of film you're working on. So you had to use fine tip for everything. Then as I got older, I guess in high school, I met one of my best friends who also liked comedy and films. And we had a video camera, and that's when we started kind of making what you're doing now. Little quirky shorts with pretty much just you and yourself with all your actors. For us, it was me and him doing everything. And he had a really big basement. So we would always pretend it was the bowels of a spaceship. Cool. And in addition to the science fiction stuff we would do, we were both in college, and we would also go to college and film like little video pieces. And one of our best ones that I can remember, we were obsessed with the alliteration of a specific word. Big Al's house of, I think there was a pancake place, but we changed it to Big Al's house of squid and liver. And we would always do these, commercials like they did back in the day. Hey, I'm Big Al Worthington, and come on down, Big Al's, and grab yourself a, that kind of stuff. So when yeah, and nobody seemed to mind because it's early '90s. I think 89 to 92. I believe I graduated in 91. Yes, I met old. And then I graduated. He graduated. He moved on. And I decided, well, there's nothing really for me to do in Pennsylvania or the East Coast for that matter that has to do with film. You could go to New York, sure. It's crazy expensive. It's more a theater town. I didn't know anybody. And not that I knew anybody here, but I was determined to be a director, a filmmaker, whatever. And in 93, I packed up 4 trunks, bought a one-way ticket on a Greyhound, and set my stuff on ahead, and came out here to strike it big. And on my movie, on my going away dinner, my family was all like, if you don't like it, we're not paying to have you come back. And I was like, yeah, I'm not coming back. Well, and here it is 30 years later, and I'm still in California. Now, I do visit for the holidays and whatnot, but I love California as much as people complain about it, and it does have a lot of problems governmentally wise. It's been very good to me. And I didn't always have these great film acting jobs. There were a lot of low periods, just like everybody. But I come from that Steven Spielberg, Lucas kind of inspiration. You got to make something happen. If you want it hard enough, you can make it happen.
Yeah, and if you never try, like with the lottery or something, if you never buy that ticket, you'll never have a chance. So you got to take the risk. Got to take a risk.
Don't be afraid to fail, I think is the best thing I can let you, because trust me, you're going to fail lots of times. But if you never actually try, then how do you know? I mean, your failures make you better over time. At least they're supposed to. Whether they actually do is...
It's like when you play a tough video game and you keep on dying, the more you do it and you die, the more you figure out how you can avoid death in the future with the character. So you can go...
Well, it can happen that way. I find that it's when you don't care about the game anymore that you seem to beat it.
Right.
Did you ever have Super Star Wars for the Super Nintendo?
Nope. Earliest system I had was the N64.
But have you ever played Super Star Wars since?
I never had Super Star Wars. I had like some of the more like Mario and Star Fox type games. I didn't have a Star Wars one on the N64. First one I had for Star Wars was like Jedi Power Battles for PS1.
Well, that was a particular hard scrolling game. And you would always get killed in either the Jawa Sandcrawler and that was a multi-level jumping. And it would drive me so insane. I would play it for hours and never get through it when I was trying to. But then one day I just, had enough, and I didn't have anything else to do. So I kind of just, it was half-assed kind of, and I just kept going to all the levels. And finally you get to the Death Star, and and then you finish it, and you're like, what? How the hell did I do that? And then you try to repeat the process, and you can't, of course, because now you're trying to win.
Right, now you got a goal for it.
So sometimes you'll hit gold when you're not even trying, more times than not. Now, there's a famous story. I don't know if you know this. It was about Spielberg. How when Spielberg was young, he walked onto he took the Universal tour, so he could see how movies worked. And at some point during the tour, because it was different back in the day, it would stop. You would get off, and they would show you stuff. Then you would get back on and continue around. And at one point, he didn't get back on the tour. He just started wandering through the studio and I guess started talking to people. And he was an interesting enough person, and people liked him. And I guess the story goes that one day he just gave himself an office. And then I think his first film after, what was that? The Overdrive? Was that his first studio film?
I have no clue.
It's about a killer truck. It was him and Lucas. They knew each other. So they were doing little pictures. So he got himself an office at the Universal lot and started his career of starting to make pictures. Fortunately, that's not what actually happened. He knew people, sure, and he did wander around, but he didn't give himself an office. That was folklore. Have you ever heard that story before?
No, I don't think I have.
Well, I actually heard it and made it true. And this is before 9/11, when you could walk onto any movie studio without being on any list if you look like you belong there, they let you alone. Kind of like in the Pee Wee Herman movie, where he goes in with that bunch of Milton Berle fans and laughing, ha 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 ha.
Yeah,
and then he was able to get on a lot. So at the time, I was only writing. I wasn't acting. So I was trying to get scripts into the right people's hands. At first, I would just watch people, see how they went in, and most of the times I didn't stop them. So I had to dress the part, so I changed how I would look. And then, a lot of people were delivery, and delivery had special entrances. So you never went into the main entrance, go into the delivery entrance. Then you could walk around that way because they never stopped delivery people. And then I would talk, who does this? And who does this? And then, just go over. And so I would wander just into different departments and look around and ask questions. And they didn't know if I was just on break. But it's not like regular people just walk in off the street. So they too thought I belonged there. And then I would make great friends. And I had, remember V, the miniseries?
I don't know what that is.
Humans came to Earth, but they were really lizards underneath.
Oh, kind of like the Illuminati or something? Yeah.
No. They remade it in 2009 on ABC. Remember, we come of peace, kind of like the plot of Independence Day. A big UFO appears in New York and says, "Hey, we're from outer space. We want to be your friends. And we'll exchange, technology, blah, blah, blah." And it turned out they had already been here for years studying us. So they knew how we looked and dressed and act. And then slowly they would start a fear campaign to, there's a group of humans that are against this peace that we have. So they can kind of take over at martial law for your own good. But then it turns out, there's a resistance group, and they found out, and they're gonna, save the world themselves. So it had an original 2-part miniseries, which was 6 hours, and then a sequel the year later, which is a 10-part. 10-hour series. So they had lots of books, and I really was into V for some reason. So I wrote an adaptation of 2 of the novels. And I was like, I need to get these seen. But studios just don't take unsolicited material. I did have an agent. I met an agent the same way. Just I met her on a set once. She was a very high-powered executive named Susan Shapiro. And she would represent me if I ever had story ideas. And so I was... Tony Jonas, I guess, was the president of Warner Brothers at the time. Warner Brothers Television. And that's how I got to meet this guy. So I came up with this plan that I created a fictitious messenger service to deliver, letters and correspondence to his secretary. So I got to know his secretary really well. Then I got to know him really well. And then whenever I need to speak to anybody, I would just mention her. So they would be okay. So one day I went to wardrobe. It's a really big department. And I asked if he knew of any empty offices. Pretty much, it's almost impossible to actually get an office on the lot, even if you have a production, because of like choice real estate. But a building had just opened up. And someone gave me a tip. Yeah, there's try this building. And I asked for this person. What do you know? It wasn't big. It was pretty much a closet. I mean, maybe 10 by 10. But I had my own phone, my own desk.
Wow.
A receptionist. And I actually literally gave myself an office at Warner Brothers. And a motion picture deal. Television. Movie of the week, I guess what they called it at that time.
Okay.
But then Tony was getting bumped up, or Les Moonves was getting bumped up or something. There was something with Les Moonves, and he was moving to CBS. And before he went, his secretary told me, you got to get your name on the new guy's address, our day planner. So he knows who you are already. So while I was in the process of doing that, I guess bookkeeping caught up to me. Oh yeah, we got your stuff for your office, but we need a charge number so they could bill, electric or phone or faxes or whatever they had, any kind of bills. I said, okay, I'll get that for you. So I was in the process of calling for a charge number. And before I could do that, one moment, you can entertain your guests for 2 seconds.
All right. Sounds good. Hope everybody's doing all right down here in the chat. I'm just going to play a little something.
How many people do we got?
Just like 2 people right now. There's some other people streaming today, and I'm pretty sure people are all relaxed. So it's all good. It's all good.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
Yes. Excuse me, sir. Ma'am. I'm a ma'am.
I should buy her something, that's special, but also creative.
Ooh, like get her a retard with a box of crayons. With one of them sharpeners so he can sharpen it and then take the shavings and put them all over his face.
You're going to hell.
Well, you know what? No, I'm not going to hell.
Retards love crayons.
All right, I'm back. Dun, dun, dun. New heroes.
All right.
Hey. What up, Death by Saber? I just noticed over there. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the chat. I was on some weird page. So, getting back to my office. So that was when he had left, and my deal was screwed. So I was politely asked to leave before security came and chased me out. I was like, well, it was short while it lasted. It was a good 3 months. But hey, I wouldn't. You can't do that now. But that's a great adventure to tell people.
Yeah, that was a good try. Good try.
Back in the 90s. And then from then, I had already started doing acting and getting some really good extra work. And Taft Hartney for the show Weird Science, the TV series. Are you familiar with that? That was on USA Network.
I've heard of it, but I haven't really watched any of that yet.
When did you get interested in film and television? Because I've noticed in our chats previous that you haven't seen a lot of stuff.
Well, I mean, I've liked movies in general, I guess, my whole life. But as far as getting into film, that's like the last couple of years. So there's still a lot of stuff that I haven't seen. And when I grew up, I didn't really see, a lot of the classics that everyone knows, like Alien, Jaws, Karate Kid, all that stuff. So I only saw those, in the last
Was that because of your family didn't take you to movies, or you weren't allowed to, or
well, I was
you just
born in
weren't
90.
interested?
I was born in '94. So like a lot of the classic ones that were before my time, just never saw all of them. I mean, sometimes they'd be on TV, but I only catch like a few minutes, so it doesn't really stick or anything, or I don't remember what it's from or something. So there's just some. And as far as like my family goes, they aren't super movie buffs. My dad really likes old vintage stuff. So I've probably seen some older things, but I don't know what they were because they're just always whatever he had. And I never really cared when I was a kid. I was just, that's on and that's what he's playing. So whatever. And with my mom, I mean, there's some things she'd put on that I recognize, but it wasn't too much. And it wasn't any of the main films that we talk about today, really. So and I grew up watching like Power Rangers, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff. So like I'm only in the last couple of years getting into the like filmy film stuff.
Right. Wasn't that the heyday of though? I mean, wasn't into like going to the video store.
Yeah, I'd go to Blockbuster. I'd go to Blockbuster here and there, but there wasn't any like super classics to get. I'd just get something that appealed. So, yeah, like I said, like I grew up with Ferris Bueller and stuff. But it's like I didn't watch every classic, but I know some classics. But it's like there's a lot of classics I've seen, but they're just not like the main ones that everyone else knows and seen that loves film. So. I grew up Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, of course, Resident Evil, Planet of the Apes. Like there's lots of films I've seen, but just not everyone. There's so many films too these days. So it's like, and I'm in a generation where they make like 1,000 movies every year. So it's kind of tough to keep track, and they make TV shows really long. And so
I can understand that. Were you really active in school? Like, did you go out a lot?
Well, like I was kind of a sports
I've always
guy.
been
I was kind of basketball and basketball, video games. I was a science guy as well, kind of. So there was some different aspects of things that I would do and whatnot. That we wouldn't always be watching a movie. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, see, that's probably why you didn't get into TV. That was my brother's thing. He was the active one. I was more the homebody, stay at home, watch TV, or use the computer. 95, 94, that was when the home computer really took off. And so I was always had an insatiable thirst to just watch more and more and more. With cable, that kind of opened up things, and I was a very frequent user of the Blockbusters and 2020 video, and
right.
After they put them on in the store, they would buy like a whole shelf of one movie, so they had plenty of copies. But then they had to get rid of them all. So there would be a $9 sale or a $5 sale just to get rid of all the extras. So that's where the bulk of my movie collection would come from, or just used VHS and DVDs.
Oh yeah, those are some good value right there. Definitely. And those were like, way before YouTube was ever an option for watching things as well. So like, I feel like I got into movies at a bad time, because it's like, there's so many other like older films that I would need to watch, as well as TV shows. There's current shows and movies coming out, and as well as YouTube and YouTubers. And there's some things, there's that. And I'm also trying to create right now as well. So it's like, my time to sit and watch isn't as much as I'd like it to be. Like if I'm going to watch something new, I like to sit and watch it and not be distracted. Or if I'm working, I want to have something on that I'm familiar enough with that I don't need to watch it. So,
right.
Yeah, that's where I am right now. But I'm still getting there on some of these things. It'll take a while. I feel like if I ever break my leg or something, then I'll have plenty to watch. So there's plenty of options.
Can you share my screen as my picture.
All right, it's shared. Did you click share the audio? Because I'm not hearing anything. Yeah, not hearing anything. It's not really either. It's all glitchy. You still there? Hello? Hello? Don't know if I lost you or not. Your audio kind of cut out.
No, I'm
okay, there you are.
Yeah, it was a computer. Too many resources.
Oh, yep. That makes sense. Makes sense.
That's one of the things I was working on for. I can plug and play any video in any of those little screens at the press of a button. Even though it's just a graphic, OBS makes everything like Flash or something. I don't know. It's so easy to use. This for my machine, it's very memory intensive.
Right. Well, that's good. But switching it up to some other experience that you've had with film. So you've been in a couple of movies.
Yes, I have. My very first was Stealing Home with Mark Harmon. Do you remember that, or is that too old?
I don't remember that one.
Jodie Foster, Mark Harmon, Ted Ross. It was in the 80s. It's a romantic film. Yeah, you probably wouldn't have seen it. But you asked me about the movies, and I'll tell you. Go ahead.
All right, so I was gonna say, like, just run us through, I guess, the ones that you've been in, and some of your experiences, I suppose. I don't know which one to start with. I know you were in Camp Nowhere very briefly, and I kind of forget some of the other ones that you mentioned before. But if you want to start with some recent ones and go backwards,
yeah, sure, we can go backwards. Well, my very last one, which I always preface this when I meet new people, and I say, "Hey, have you ever seen me naked?" Because that's the thing that I'm being funny. Well, have you ever seen a movie, Not Another Teen Movie?
Actually, I think I have actually seen that.
I think I remember that. Well, then you've seen me naked, or at least my naked butt. Remember that scene in the locker room when the nerds are gathered above the air vent and they're spying in on the girls' locker room? It's within the first 15 minutes of the movie.
I'm getting some of my parody movies mixed, like Epic Movie and some of these other ones, Disaster Movie. I feel like Not Another Teen Movie they all kind of mesh. They all kind of mesh together to me.
Kind of same company, I think, was making all those.
I think so too. Kind of like how Mel Brooks has a similar vibe in his films, but they're like different. Whatever company that was. Yeah, that's similar. So I'm pretty sure I've seen it. I just don't remember at the top of my head because it's been years since I saw it.
Yeah, short little scene where somebody's in the locker room, takes off a jock strap, and walks into the shower. I was there from 9 a.m. to 3 a.m. and mine was the very last shot of the day. So I just sitting around, getting paid for pretty much doing nothing but eating and watching. And some of the best films I were on was The Rock with Nicolas Cage and
Sean Connery and The Rock. No, okay.
Yeah, in the beginning of the movie when they're establishing Nicolas Cage's character, he had just received the White Album from a collector, and he hears the news about some part of the case. Well, behind him, there are two lab techs, an Asian guy and me. And we're just doing busy work. And it's like 3 days I was on that movie. And I don't care what rumors you may have heard. At that time, people would say, "Oh, Nicolas Cage is not a very nice person. He's very rude and gruff to people." And in my time the set, I had not that experience at all. Everybody was very pleasant and affable. Now, there are lots of actors who have it in their head that everybody's a distraction. I can't do my craft if you're talking to me, so don't do it. Like Sinbad. Sinbad is somebody who you would think, yeah, he's a comedian. He's trying to be Eddie Murphy, but he also thinks he was all that in a bag of chips. And the one thing they tell you when you work with Sinbad is, don't look at Sinbad. Don't wave to Sinbad. Don't say hello to Sinbad. If he talks to you, just nod your head and walk away, because that's the method actor he is. And that was actually the case on what was that movie? He was in a cowboy movie. With James Coburn, Cincinnati Kid, a Cherokee Kid. And we filmed that on the Warner Brothers lot. And I just so happened to have a scene with James Coburn, who was, again, very affable, very nice guy. We actually talked about his previous works, and I think that may have been one of his last movies before he passed away. James Coburn is from The Magnificent Seven, Dirty Dozen, a bunch of movies from the 60s you've probably never seen, but he's a very great, one of the classic actors of the heyday of filmmaking.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's been good. That's been a fun experience there for you.
Oh, yeah. We were in the bleachers, and I think Coburn was playing the mayor, and he was going to give a speech of some sort. And I wasn't as big as I am now. I think I was 180, maybe 185. So I was able to get more roles. The key to most background work and extra work in general, or just acting, is wardrobe. Unless you're the main star, you have to fit in the clothes they have available, because they're not going to go out of the way to get you special clothes. So back then I was able to fit into at least a 40, 46 sometimes. And Air Force One was coming up. Do you remember? Have you ever seen that one with Harrison Ford?
No.
Do you know of it?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's the classic "Get off my plane" line. And that's like a big meme.
I didn't know that one was a classic, really. I'm unfortunately too familiar with I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes off the motherfucking plane. That's the plane line I get.
Well, they needed Russian Secret Service to guard Air Force One in the beginning of the movie, because it starts in Russia. So, oh, I got to get on this movie. But the only stipulation was you got to fit the Russian uniforms, because they came all the way from Russia, and they only had the sizes they had. They can't get any more. And I was lucky enough, I held my breath and squeezed into one of those OMS uniforms, and I was selected. So I got to be Russian Special Forces in Air Force One, guarding an actual Air Force One. We went to Terminal Island, which is a disused part of the LAX seaport airport. So it's an actual airport. It's just only used for filming. So they brought in this giant Air Force, old classic white and blue 777 Air Force One that they use for other movies. And a presidential motorcade. They had a C1 something cargo plane. So they had guys as military. This is going to be great. So I'm going to take pictures. There were no digital cameras. There were no cell phones. You had to go to
the Polaroid.
Yeah, you had to actually go buy a box camera And when I went to the market and picked up my camera, the one I picked up, well, I didn't want to have a flash because you don't want to be seen taking pictures because it's kind of a no-no. Right. So I thought, I'll be clever. I'll just get the kind of without a flash. And we were shooting kind of early. It was like 3 or 4 o'clock, until the main part of the scene. So I just took a lot of behind the sets, getting dressed, of me and the military guys on the ramp of the cargo plane, of me in front of the presidential limo, me underneath the car, the big landing wheel. Barely 2 films came out. I guess it was a really low grade ASI or ASA of the film. And the whole film was pretty much blank. But I was able to bump up just barely me in front of a tent and me in front of the president's limo motorcade. So they're my only remaining photos. But it was such a great experience. Harrison Ford was there. I didn't actually get to meet him during that scene, but it was just an all-night shoot of him. The Russian guys, Gary Oldman, he plays the main bad guy. He comes up, so they film him a lot. The motorcade coming around the plane, getting on the plane, introducing the press. Anything that had to do at the Russian airport had to be all done there on that 2 nights that we were there. So that was really fun. It's great when you get to work with interesting stories and real cool props. And it's not just some Joe Schmo at a restaurant, innocuous, boring. They could fill that with cardboard and you never tell the difference. Which that used to do. I think they do that anymore. It's cheaper to do it digitally. Do you remember basketball or basketball?
Yes, I do remember basketball. The South Park dudes, pretty much.
Yeah. So you saw that?
Yep, saw that one.
Then you've seen me. I was 3 times in that. I was in the dugout at one point throwing pickups. I had one of those beer helmets on. They were yellow.
Yeah.
And then they filmed that was in the Great Western Forum. They filmed it for maybe 2 weeks solid. And a lot of the people in there were free because it's a big place and they wanted to fill it up. So they'll put ads in the paper. Hey, come down, work on this movie, and you get lunch. In the deep background, it was, and in the upper levels of the balcony, it was just actual cardboard cutouts wearing actual clothes because they're so far in the back, you would never know. But that was fun. Matt and Trey, they were pretty cool. Nice guys, from what I can remember. And Showgirls, we know of that? Or
I know of it. I don't know anything about it. Know of it.
And this with the girl from Saved by the Bell.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, okay. I've seen that was a movie, right? That was a pretty badly received film, I guess.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, any review I've ever had, they don't really talk fondly of Showgirls.
Yeah. Well, it's that Paul Verhoeven was directing, and it's just about a girl comes to Vegas, but she wants to be an actual showgirl, but has to start out as a stripper.
Oh.
And then meets Kyle MacLachlan, who's a showrunner who happens to frequent this strip club and takes a fancy to her. So says, hey, yeah, we're going to promise you this and that and get her in the show as an understudy. But all the time, the star of the show just wanted her as a play toy because she liked her.
Right.
But then there's some chicanery and she breaks her leg and she gets to be the main star, and yada yada yada. It's typical.
Right. You're good. So, what were you in that film?
I was lucky enough to be at the Cheetah Club for 2 weeks, watching actual strippers and drinking real beer, like I was at a real strip club.
Well, that paycheck must have been fun to get.
Yeah, it was. So the first place you can see me is with the comedian. There's a heavyset comedian that has trick breasts. So she has pumps in her hand. So when she puts her arms together, her top falls down with a honking noise, and I'm like sitting right off to the side on the bar. But then there are other scenes where I was on the other side of the room. Had a lap dance in one scene, but I believe it was cut. But the best thing that come out of that was I had my own page in the Showgirls coffee table book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when we were behind there was a famous war photographer. Her name was Mary Ellen Mark. And she was taking pictures of all the girls and the sets for the book to come out. And she liked my look and said, hey, would you mind posing with some of the ladies for some photos? Okay.
All right.
So
Why not?
Yeah, and who knew if I would make the cut or not, or where I would even be in a book if I was, until this one day someone got the book on their own. It's like, you have a whole page to yourself. I said, what? I thought I'd be maybe in a corner, one of those little square pictures where you have a story and then a little square with a little caption or something. But no, I was actually a whole page with no words on it, and it was just me and some of the strippers.
Wow. That's pretty cool. That's interesting. Death by Saber in the chat says Classic Glue sounds like a guy on the radio sidekick of Jay Thomas.
Jay Thomas, who's that?
I'm assuming I'm assuming some radio guy. I'm assuming.
The only Jay Thomas I knew was on that. The guy I'm thinking of, it's on a sitcom a long time ago, but it's probably not him. I used to listen to a lot of talk radio, so Brian and the Bean and all those radio, morning zoo personality type of people.
Yep.
Maybe that's who he is.
You're saying before how you sound like a radio guy.
Yeah, well, I got an actual job doing animated voices. I guess somebody liked my voice and asked me, hey, you want to do some animated characters or something? It was called Around the World in 80 Days with animals. Okay. Unfortunately, it never got past recording because he was arrested by the FBI for security exchange fraud. Yeah, he was an Indian guy. And he was one of those where you take other people's work, repackage it, and you can make money.
Hooray.
So do you... this might not be something you remember, but a long time ago, there was a guy named something Lasco, and he had question marks all over his shirt. And he would come onto the TV screen and says, hi, did you know you can get free money? And he would have this big book of just all kinds of government grants and programs. And you want money for a new car? It's in this book. And blah, 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 blah. So this guy would take those kind of books for all kinds of venture capitalists. They were a venture capitalist group. And then hire people to transcribe those books into his own book and sell them months after the information was practically no good. I get in venture capital, but the best thing about venture capital is you go after investors. Hey, I got this project. Give us some money, and there's a possibility you can make money too. But with venture capital, there's no guarantees. So unlike, I guess it's like Kickstarter now. You can raise untold millions, and then when the campaign is over, you don't have to produce shit.
Wow.
And you're under no obligation to return the money. Unless that's how you set up the campaign.
Right.
And that's why there's so many of these comic book scams that you may have heard about through EVS or any of the comic gate crowd or whatever that whole comic skate thing is going on.
Yeah, I heard some people had some issues with some of that stuff, but for the most part, a lot of the comics gators have fulfilled. But there's been a couple people either on Kickstarter or some on Indiegogo that did not fully fulfill or fulfill right away. Especially recently, there was one that wasn't able to.
Yeah, so back in the 90s, that was the big thing to do was venture capitalists raise money and, again, keep it. But you can complain to the SEC because technically it's security and exchange violations. Kickstarter, like getting around it. I don't know how, but it's the online thing. Everything's legal online now. So,
Yeah, true that. But
one day I was just coming into work, and the FBI were packing up the office, and they asked, "How'd you get in here?" Well, I have the key. Oh, I guess I forgot to either lock the door or station somebody outside.
Yeah.
So then I had to answer a bunch of questions, and so that project never got off the ground. But it was cool to do. I did Married with Children.
What?
A lot. I got to graduate with Bud Bundy. How can you ask for anything better than that?
I have watched a lot of Married with Children. I got into it very late after its release, of course. But yeah, in high school, it would play before I'd head to class sometimes. So I'd catch an episode or so if I got up too early, and I'd be playing usually. So I saw that. So what did you play in there? Like one of Bud's friends or something?
Well, it was when Bud and Kelly were graduating community college. And it's on my Facebook page. I have clips from it. And so when they were doing the lineup, it's in the closing credits. Bud, I walk up, take my diploma, walk off. Bud walks up, takes his diploma, looks at the camera. They roll some credits. And then Kelly and some other girl do the same thing. I got to meet Robert Englund, when Al went to hell for Halloween. He wanted to win the Super Bowl just once. Remember, he got sent to hell, and Freddy Krueger was playing the devil and promised Al, "I'm going to let you play in the Super Bowl. And all you have to do is, I don't know, whatever it was." But that even was too much for Al. But so I was at first in the bleachers in front of Peggy and Kelly and Bud while they were watching. And it actually starts on me and Lewis and then pans down to them. And then later on, I was a guest at the Hotel Hell. So I was just a zombified guest walking around. I got to you know who Martin Short is, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember his brief show at Jiminy Glick?
Nope.
Well, he played a really obnoxious talk show host. "My name is Jiminy Glick. and he was really fat, and he was very rude and abrasive. But he also played his lawyer and his agent and his wife. So he had lots of makeup changes. So whenever he was playing those other characters, I was Jiminy Glick from the back. And I got to drive Bigfoot.
Wow.
It was right after 9/11, and everybody was flag crazy, driving around with flags, everything. Remember that?
No, I don't really remember that.
Flag car crazy. There are flags everywhere. So one of the stunts they wanted to do was, I want to show that I can be patriotic, and I'm going to drive the biggest car and the biggest flag. At the time, now, I had a license before I moved to California. I did not have one after I moved here. I just had my state ID. But I never turned down a job. So I just said, sure, I can drive. Because I didn't know what I was going to drive. They just said, we just need you to drive around the block. It's going to be closed off, and you'll have a flag. So, okay, I'll do it. A little white line doesn't kill anybody. They're not going to check. And again, you're all cordoned off. So I get to the set. I'm in wardrobe. I get made. Look, that's what you're driving. What? It's an actual Bigfoot. And so I hope it's an automatic. Oh, yeah, it's really easy to drive. It's loud, and I was so nervous because I hadn't been in a car for a good while, at least as a driver. But yeah, just drive around. We had the radio. You'll start and stop. And the camera was locked down, so there wasn't even a cameraman in the car. It was just me. And they had this 50-foot flag on the back of a flagpole. So action, and I just drove around the block twice. And so I have pictures of me standing in front of it before and after the set. So it's interesting.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, how many people get to drive Bigfoot?
Yeah, exactly.
Death by Saber, are you our only guest? I'm so glad you stopped by. It's good to have somebody in the chat. Feel free to ask. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Yeah, he's actually got one right here. He says, "Have you ever met the comedian Sam Kinison?"
Maybe on not in Living Color. What's that? Mad TV? Probably on Mad TV.
One of them, yeah.
I don't think I worked in a scene with him, but he could have been in a show that I was on where he just behind the set. So it's hardly possible. I don't remember a lot of things if they're too inconsequential. I mean, you would think I would remember that. But I worked with Michael Richards on the one episode of the Michael Richards show before it got canceled. And he walked off his own show. It was hilarious. I don't know did you ever see any of it? It was about him working at a hardware store.
Nope.
So we're filming. He's in a board meeting. I guess the owner of whatever business he's running thinks he should go a different way. And he's doing the lines. And then this is so dumb. He starts yelling and screaming, and the writer, who wrote this? And because he can't get the lines right, it's coming out like verbal diarrhea where you stumble on everything.
Yeah.
And then he just acted, and he walked. He just left. He actually left the set. I said, okay, well, I'm going to hold a while and see if it comes back. That's lunch. We went to lunch. They came back from lunch. Yeah, we're not doing anymore. And then that show, that was it. That was the last actual episode of that show. I believe I was a store clerk or a handyman in the store where he was working or something. Let's see, what other juicy tidbits. Did you ever watch Third Rock from the Sun?
I've heard of it. That was on the queue for a while for me to get, but I never watched it yet.
John Lithgow is an alien. He moves down to suburbia. I was in the Super Bowl episode where I guess the gimmick for that year was fashion models from all over the world were actually aliens. So Naomi Campbell was there. A lot of the famous movie models of the day were there. And so I got to be in that episode, and during lunch or break, most of the models would go off to their trailer and hide. But there was just one, she was a blonde, I can't remember her name, but she would actually sit in the bleachers with the regular people and just relax and talk. Which I always like it when actors are just people. I never got starstruck once from any of the people I met because they were just actors. I mean, and people who just happen to be lucky to deliver these great lines. So while I was doing all the acting, I kind of put the filmmaking behind. I tried to help continue writing and help others. Then gradually you just kind of fall away from it when the less and less work you do. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like not falling out of practice, but it just doesn't seem excuse me. It doesn't seem as important to you anymore. And then I was getting sicker and sicker with my regular health and whatnot. So then it just, I think the very last thing I wrote and sold was, do you remember Time Cop at all? Not the movie.
I've heard of Time Cop, the movie, but I don't really know.
Later on, Tom Vicek, the guy who wrote the Cisco County Kid, sold a treatment for a TV series. So there was a Time Cop TV series. It lasted 12 episodes. I wrote one of the pilots. It was about Time Cop and the Thorn of the War of the Roses, and the Queen and Elizabeth, and killing the brother and hiding the brother and switching the brother so they could take over the royal family or whatnot. But they went with something about Hitler and something else. And then I wrote one episode of the Weird Sciences that I was in called Lisa's Lover, where Lisa, do you remember Weird Science, the movie with Kelly LeBrock at all?
Nope, still never watched it.
But have you heard of it? Or the plot?
I knew there was the show, but I didn't know there was a movie.
Well, two nerdy guys create a girl with a computer, and she becomes this genie who can do anything for them. Kelly LeBrock played her in the movie, and Vanessa Angel played her in the TV show. And she's so sweet. And everybody on that cast was great. That was
I think you cut out there for a sec. Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry. One of the directors, Max Tash, was working on another show which I had been booked on. And when I got there, the second AD who was, I guess, checking in people, was like, "Who booked you on this job?" And sent me home. She's like, "You're not right for this. Get out." Not knowing that I was a special request because Max happened to be directing that episode and wanted me on it.
Wow.
So before I even get home, I get a call. "Yeah, don't worry about it. You're still going to get paid. And Max wants you back tomorrow. Don't worry about it."
Oh.
As soon as I got in the next day, this lady was fawning all over me. "Oh, I'm so sorry about that misunderstanding. Blah, blah. Do you need some water? Can I get you this to eat? And the shoe's on the other foot now that I'm somebody.
Oh yeah.
You get a lot of second ADs who want to be first ADs and try power trips. That kind of happened on Rat Race. Did you see that movie? No. John Cleese, a whole bunch of Rowan Atkinson. It's a madcap scavenger hunt for money. And I was a stand-in for, you know who they are?
Yeah, I know who they are.
Okay, yeah, they sung the song for Shrek. So anyway, I report to work, and it's just, you're standing in, so you're just for lighting only. You don't even have to be in any wardrobe. I go to wardrobe, what? Who are you? You're not right for this. Yeah, just go join everybody else, you peon. I said, what? I'm not doing that. So I just went to my back to my dressing room with the other people. And I actually got an upgrade. And I ended up being the stand-in for Breckin Meyer, of all people. You know who that is?
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's a teen romantic comedy actor. So it was all night long. Cuba Gooding Jr., Kathleen the Chimney, and me. While everybody else was stuck in a tent. It was another great experience.
That's pretty tight.
I loved every bit of filmmaking, the TV show, films that I've been part of. There may have been some stickers in the past. Very few and far between, though. Only because they were just cattle calls and you're just to fill a body. Like the Billy Crystal movie, Forget Paris. It's a romantic love story. They had to fill the entire USC sports arena. There's a name for it. I can't think of it. There's Science Museum. And the only way they could do that was, again, put out an ad. Hey, come to this movie and you'll get a T-shirt and an apple. And I guess for the regular person, that's enough to, you shall be in a movie. Not really. It's a crowd scene where you won't see anybody. But it was really mismanaged. It was super long. And the worst part about it was all day long, I'm sitting in a chair listening to Kenny G play the national anthem on trumpet, because there's one scene where, for some reason, he comes to the game that Billy is at, and he's only there for maybe one take, and the rest of the day is all the reverse angle. So he's not in it. Even Kenny G's not there. They're just having playback because it's all on us. That was so torturous. Oh.
Oh no. Death by Saber said that he ran into Gwen Stefani while shopping for a Halloween costume once.
Wow, that's nice.
He's asking you if you got to hang out with any celebrities. He also met Cheech and Chong. Took a picture with him.
In my in 10 years, I was roughly from 2003 to 2013 was my time in the film business. I got hit on by Stephen Baldwin's best friend when we were on the set of Flintstones Viva Rock Vegas. I got to drink beer with Felicity on the show Felicity. I was one of the continual college students at her dorm parties. I mean, it was all not non-alcoholic. So you kind of hang out with those. Hey, come on in. Or is that you?
What was that?
I thought I heard somebody. Maybe it's just an echo.
Nope, I don't know.
Hold on. I'm going to put you on mute just for a second. You can.
All right, it's all good. Hope everybody's still doing all good in the chat down here. Just going to play another comic ad for you guys. All right. Yep. Fallon Reacts just showed up. Says, y'all don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you, Fallon. Thank you, Fallon. Hope that y'all having a good day as well. This has been a nice little stream so far. I've been going on a little bit over an hour. All right. Are you trying to create a comic book? Do you have an upcoming project or video that you want to bring attention to? Well, if you make a 27-second or less video trailer/promo, we will play it on our live streams between topics and possibly at the end of our videos. Email us at thefandomcollective@gmail.com or Flippin' Rookie on Twitter, and we'll set you up. Have a good one, guys. We shall rise together.
Hello, hello. I am back.
All right. Very good. Very good.
All right. So, Death by Saber, where in California are you? And what do you do?
All right. We shall find out. But actually, we'll be closing out pretty soon. So if there's any, I got some things to finish up tonight. But if there's any last things you want to kind of bring up to, sum up anything.
Oh, sure.
Last story.
Well,
go ahead, man.
Well, just since he's got to go, one of my best, I think, experiences was I'm a huge Star Trek fan. The original show, the movies, and the Next Generation came out. Now, the first season, that was strictly height-weight ratio, very strict. First season wasn't that great. That Next Generation really picked up after season 2. Fortunately, I was never able to get on that show. But then, go ahead.
No, I was going to say rats. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, you're a big fella. It's understandable. I kind of in a pigeonhole of the roles I can fill. But then Deep Space Nine came along, and that wasn't as picky, and they had lots of room to work with. So I actually got to be on several episodes of Deep Space Nine as humans, where I didn't need to have any fancy clothes. Avery Brooks was really nice. That French guy who played the medical doctor came up to me and actually gave me a compliment on my acting of just sitting there. Well, I mean, I was homeless, so we were intense, and he said I had an intensity about me, and we became friends, actually, and he read one of the scripts I was writing. Actually, he read for that V project that I was doing. I hadn't lost the office yet.
Okay, that's cool.
The blonde girl, though, Terry Farrell, she was not very nice at all. She went from the set to her trailer, and she didn't want to be bothered in between. And then since I had worked on that show, then Voyager came along. It's like, hey, sure. So for maybe 2 seasons, I got to be a villager with Leonardo da Vinci and Janeway, the guy from Sliders. He was also in Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
That Gimli guy, the wizard. He played the professor.
Oh, you mean
Nice Davies. That's it.
Okay.
And so we got to talking, and we talked about all kinds of stuff. And then they offered me an actual prosthetic job as one of the aliens in the void, and that was great. Now I actually have a physical role and doing something special with others, and I got to come back. So it was really sad when CBS pulled the plug, or Paramount pulled the plug after the end of that crappy Enterprise. I decided everything's got to go. So all those people that had permanent jobs at Paramount in wardrobe or at props were like, yeah, you're fired, go home. And they took a big warehouse full of clothes, just threw them away virtually. Get rid of it. We don't need it. We're never doing Star Trek again. And then when CBS decided to do their own with the movies, they didn't need it either because they were going to be their own thing. And we saw how that ended up. So that's pretty much one of the saddest but best parts of my career, because you got to work on a show I really love for a long time. So
that's good. I guess if anything, that's one of the goals to accomplish. Even if you don't get exactly to where you want, you got to get something out of there.
So this is it. Until next time, guys, I want to thank you for stopping by. Ricky, you're doing good work. The Lord's work. And entertaining the masses. And subscribe to my channel. I don't know if it's in the link.
I'll add your link to the channel in the description below. I had to kind of make this pretty quickly, so I'll toss that link in there later. And you guys definitely subscribe to Classic Glue Reviews. This dude's got a nice film history, and he's got his own YouTube channel. He's getting things going and whatnot. You want to tell him a little bit about your channel?
My latest kick is Galactic Review, where Palpatine has taken over Classic Glue because he was just too tired. But it's for a safer and secure tomorrow. So we must do what the Emperor wants. At least the real Emperor, not that fake clone.
Of course. And what else could we ask for, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Death by Saber, for hanging out. And Fallon React stopped by for a little bit. And This Is the Way also dropped by. And Keely Chu has been going in and out. So appreciate you guys coming on by. And I will see you guys later.